what if I went and I found some audio of you or me, and then someone tries to trick one of our staff members into thinking that it's you telling them to buy some gift cards for employee rewards, or maybe it's a vendor that you're talking to, and so they call up and say, hey, this is Greg with Braintek, and I need to change my payment information for this invoice that you just sent me. But using your voice and or video to trick people is just taking it to a new level.
Welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about AI scams and deep fakes. It's a growing problem. Joining me today is Greg Brainerd. He's the CEO of Braintek right here in Houston. Greg, welcome.
Thanks, Raj. It's good to be here.
What exactly are AI scams and deep fake scams?
Well, AI is a brand new technology that's been around for the last couple of years now, and it's really gaining a lot of traction. Very cool stuff coming out of it. But one of the things that's very interesting, and you may have seen this in a movie like Star Wars or Indiana Jones, where they take an actor and they manipulate the graphics and such, where they can reproduce someone's likeness and use it. And in movies, it's really fun and cool, but there's a growing problem where people are using it in scams, trying to act as some kind of a CEO at a company, or someone else to try to trick you, the person that they're calling, into giving up money or trying to extort you in some capacity. And really, what it is it's someone recording a video or audio, and then they train the AI to look or sound like you, and in order to trick the person that they're reaching out to. That's essentially what it is. So it's a video snippets or audio snippets that are taken to recreate someone else's likeness.
And so how are small businesses getting targeted? It sounds like maybe this could be a big company problem, but it's not. It could be a small business problem too. So what are some of the common ways small businesses get targeted?
Well, absolutely. So, I've got a YouTube channel. A lot of people use TikTok and other video means. So if I can go out to the web and I can get a video or audio clip of someone, then I can take that to my AI system and generate very similar things. So for small businesses, what if I went and I found some audio of you or me, and then someone tries to trick one of our staff members into thinking that it's you telling them to buy some gift cards for employee rewards, or to change someone's direct deposit information, or maybe it's a vendor that you're talking to, and so they call up and say, hey, this is Greg with Braintek, and I need to change my payment information for this invoice that you just sent me, or whatever. But using your voice and or audio or video to trick people is just taking it to a new level, where people were doing it via email before. Now I've got this additional layer, which you think is authentic because, again, this person is reaching out to you and it sounds or looks or both like you.
And are there examples you can share where companies have been targeted and either they've been faked or they've stopped the scammers in their
Yeah,
tracks?
recently a large company, LastPass, it's a password manager. Someone had called in to their system using WhatsApp, and they also sent some, recorded some voicemails. They sent some video messages, but they were trying to trick the individual that they were talking to sound and act like the CEO of that company. Because of the way that it came through, the employee was very suspect on how it was and what was being requested, that they raised a security instance for that to do some additional research into it. So they thwarted the attack, but that was just one illustration that it's something that could happen very easily if the person receiving that call or text or video was just not quite paying attention, or maybe they were completely fooled.
And so LastPass is a software company, and so they've probably got employees who are trained to look out for these types of things. So employee training is a critical part of this, especially if you're not a tech company yourself. So what are some of the ways that a Houston business owner can know if their company is protected against these AI scams and these deep fakes? What kind of things should they be doing?
Well, really, the big thing is you need to talk to your staff about the normal ways of communication. I'm not going to reach out to my staff via something that we're not using internally. So what are those legitimate communication paths that you're going to use? So you're going to define, hey, we use, our email, we use text messaging, but if it's going to involve something, maybe I need to have a standard procedure that says, okay, well, I need to double check before I go do this. And so if let's say that you get an unknown call from a CEO somewhere, well, you go, okay, well, there's nothing on the caller ID to indicate where the source is. It sounds like Greg that I'm talking to, but this is kind of an abnormal thing that he's asking me. I'm going to get up out of my chair, walk over to his desk, or call him on a phone number that I know that he uses, and just double check this. Hey, Greg, I just got this call from you asking about buying some gift cards or whatever the request is. Was this something you really wanted me to do? And of course, the attackers are going to try to take opportunities like, you need to do this as soon as possible. I need this now to you know emphasize that there's a need or a rush to do this. It could also happen when maybe you're traveling, so it's harder to get a hold of that person at that moment. So slowing down a little bit, analyzing the request, and trying to get additional feedback from the company, having those double checks in your processes of verifying data without taking it at face value is probably very critical for that. But it's really going to come down to training.
Training is such a key part of this thing. Is there an audit or something like that that your company does to help people identify if they are at risk?
Oh, absolutely. So we do cybersecurity assessments, and within that, we look for different ways that people are trying to get into your network. That's not going to help with the AI stuff. But then when we talk about the processes and procedures that you're using, how do I authenticate someone? How do I verify that you are who you are? Whether that's over the phone, over a video chat, over email, any of those types of things. So, like we tell all of our clients when they get some kind of an email coming in from a vendor, you need to verify that that information is correct. Call the company based on previous information that you have. But the same thing goes here. You need to do those same kind of processes and procedures when it comes to verifying, somebody that sounds like or looks like in a video chat or audio. Those are going to be the big things that you're going to do to help you. And going through your processes and procedures are going to be the standard for that. Verifying how you're training your staff to look out for these types of things, and just informing them, hey, this is a real threat out there. What happens? What do I do if I suspect this is happening? And from an employee point of view, that training is going to be critical.
And the employee training actually will permeate throughout their lives too, because it's not just businesses that are getting targeted. I think we've seen stories about people who target elderly folks and just like other family members trying to extort money. Do you have some stories that you could share about that?
Yeah, so this happens pretty routinely, and this scam has been going on for a long time. But with the increase of AI, it makes it a little bit easier for the scammers to do this. So, I could pose as someone's grandson, and what I do is maybe I'm calling up my grandmother or my grandfather or just some elderly person that may have some grandchildren, and I'm like, "Hey, grandma, this is your grandson, and I just got arrested, and I need you to send me $10,000 as soon as possible." Now, if they don't know my voice, they're gonna go, "I don't know who that is," and just hang up. But if it sounds like me over the telephone, well, maybe it is me. And so then at that point, the person is going to be very cautious and go, "Oh no, I got to help my grandson," and send them whatever they need as soon as possible. Again, there's that urgency that's required when sending this money because I'm in some kind of trouble. And so the elderly person at that point is just going to go, "Okay." But at that point, if you get that kind of a call, the best, and especially if it's coming from a caller ID that's unknown, that's on your phone, hang up. Call your grandson or granddaughter, call your son or daughter, and again verify, because often these people are in the next room or at their house down the street or wherever they are in relation to their grandparent. But they need to be just as vigilant because this kind of thing happens often.
One of the ways you'd mentioned was getting a voice print. Now, you've got a YouTube channel, and so as you talk more throughout that channel, people can sample your voice and then use AI to actually create audio tracks that are not you, but that sound exactly like you. What are some of the ways that the people who say don't have a YouTube channel? What are some of the ways that they get their voice print captured for AI
Well, it could
effects?
be a voicemail that you left with someone. Would probably be the biggest way to do that. I could call you up on the telephone and just record your voice. Maybe talk to you a little bit, maybe like kind of like a sales call or something, and just
Hmm.
pose as someone. And then once I have 30 seconds of your voice, I can then make this AI sound just like you.
Hmm. That's pretty scary. So, what are some of the ways that people can maybe address that as they get a call? Is it just a like don't answer any call that you don't recognize, or is there more to it?
Well, that's going to be certainly, of course, I mean, with anything, I mean, you could certainly take that approach, but not answering the phone for anybody is going to be difficult. And a lot of people already do that anyways for sales calls. But that's going to
Yeah.
be probably the biggest thing. There's not at this point a lot of other things that they're doing. Law enforcement is trying to make policies. Government is trying to make policies to make this kind of thing illegal, and especially for these types of calls. But of course, scammers aren't going to pay attention to that. I mean, they're trying to rob you out of your money anyways. So are they going to not do that? Of course they're going to do that. They're going to try in any capacity to try to get money from the person that they're trying to extort.
Okay. Well, what's the best next step for a small business in Houston to figure out what they should be doing to protect themselves? Let's say they contact you. What is the first thing that you would do with them?
So I would start talking to them about their IT security needs. Then we do an assessment with them and find out kind of what their security posture currently looks like and what the gap is to getting it to a point that would be, uh, compliant if they're under any kind of regulation that they need to be. But if they're just looking to bolster their security, then we would say, hey, here's the best practices for a company in your industry. Here's what we do for other clients. Taking into effect, their anti-spam, the security systems on their computers, and then of course, hey, are you training your staff to be on the lookout for a lot of these scams and things that could potentially get into your network? And if they're not doing those kind of things, then we would implement a policy and procedure to start that up. So we're going to set up a training regimen that would go out monthly to warn the staff, hey, this kind of a threat exists. Here's what you can do. And here's the kind of the procedures that you need to outline within your business to kind of stop it. So if you get a call from someone that seems to be the CEO of your company, well, what do you do with that? And the company needs to define that for themselves, how they want to react, what they did, what are they going to do in those particular circumstances? It's just simply hanging up the phone, or is this going to be, oh, I need to get more information so I can contact law enforcement, or I'm going to ignore it. So any of those types of things are going to be plausible, but we need to define what your company wants to do in these types of scenarios after we figure out where your security is at. Because if I can trick you into giving me your password or your bank account information, now I've got a lot more information that I can go and do whatever I'm going to do from a damage point of view.
So your traditional cybersecurity plan just got elevated thanks to these AI scams and deep fake threats. You really have to add that component to it too.
Absolutely. And there's other ways, from a video point of view, if you've ever watched or looked at any AI video, you can see a lot of mistakes that are made. AI is not currently perfect and it's getting better. So this may not apply in the next couple of years. But right now you can look for just things that look weird. There's on OpenAI's website, they have a really cool platform called Sora. And one of the videos they have a woman walking down the street, but as you kind of look at it, as she turns her head, all of a sudden she has a bump on her head that wasn't there just a few seconds ago. In another video, they have a cat just pawing at their owner, and in that, all of a sudden, there's now three arms. And so, paying attention to just those little tiny details to say, oh, they've got more fingers than they really need, or the eye color changes, or the texture of the skin just looks fake or weird. Any of those kind of things you can look at, and that'll help you from a video point of view. Uh, Audio is going to be a little bit tougher, but you can look at you know the style in which the person is talking, the accent that they use, all those types of things to identify. Does it sound a little more robotic, or does it even are they the grammar that they use, is it kind of typical for that person? Those kind of things you can identify from a training point of view. But again, it's going to be just paying attention and being on top of those kind of things.
One of the things I love about the way your company does these the training for employees is you will actually send out things that you know are fake, and you want to see how employees react, so you can actually help them get trained on it. And that's a wonderful approach because you're doing it to make sure people understand what needs to happen, and at the same time, you're not actually attacking them. It's almost like a white hat way of doing
Right.
it.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to do, tests. I mean, just because, in school, just because you sat there and listened to the lecture doesn't mean that you absorbed all that content. And so at the end, you need to test your understanding and verify that you know kind of what's going on so that later on, when you're not in that safe environment and that scenario happens to you, you know how to react to it. And hopefully it's not in a negative way.
So the last thing a small business wants in Houston is to be front page news about how they got hacked or attacked using an AI scammer or deep fake. Greg, what's the best way for a company to reach out to you and get started with the process to make sure that they are ready for what's coming down the road, which is going to be better and better
Well,
fakes?
they can visit our website at braintek.com. That's BRAINTEK.com. Or they can just give us a call, 281 367 8253. And what they want to do is when they call or submit a web form, talk about having us do a cybersecurity assessment for their company, and then to just sit down and talk to them about how they're doing different things within their business from a security point of view, a processes point of view, to see if there's any gaps or holes that they need to be aware of. They can train themselves, their staff, make some changes internally to their processes and procedures, and of course implement some training for everybody.
Excellent. Thanks for a very insightful conversation. This is scary stuff coming down the pike, and we got to be ready for it.
Absolutely, Raj.
And so, excellent. All right. Till next time.
Thank you.